I have a sample of chlorinated water here that I'm going to do a DPD1 test on for free chlorine on the photometer. So what I've got here is a blank. This is just a sample of this chlorinated water. I'm not going to add a DPD1 tablet to that. That's just going to go in to the photometer when I'm ready to test it to zero it. So for the actual test itself, what you do is draw off some water and rinse out a test tube a couple of times. And what you need to do is just leave a few drops of water in the bottom, and then into that you add a DPD1 tablet without touching it with your fingers, which would take the sample. And have a look at the colour. It's got a deep pink colour, so we know that there's chlorine in there. Crush the tablet up into just that little bit of water in there. So it's going to a very, very dark colour. And then what you do is you top that up to the 10 mil mark, observing the colour as you do so. And what you'll see, hopefully, is that it's gone clear. Let's carry on mixing it up. A little bit of, tiny bit of pink has remained, but it's gone very, very clear now, or very much lighter. Something's not right there. If we put that in the photometer, it would probably be quite a low reading that we'd get back. So let's put the blank in the photometer so we can zero it. And then put the actual sample in. And let's see what we've got. It says 0.65, but because of that bleaching effect that we saw, we know that that's inaccurate, because when we only had just a few drops of water, we saw a very deep, very, very dark pink, and we actually observed the water bleaching. We observed the water bleaching the DPD1 tablet as we added it up to 10 mil. So what we need to do is do a dilution test. Now, in order to do that, you need one of these beakers. So it goes up to 100 mil, but we're only going to use 10 mil, and we're going to top the rest of it up with distilled water. So what you do is rinse out a beaker and then top it up to the 10 mil mark. So that's the chlorinated water, 10 mil, and then the rest of it we're going to top up with deionized water. up to 100 ml. So only 10% of this is the original sample. So what we're going to do is draw off a sample of the diluted water and rinse out a test tube a couple of times, and again just leave a few drops of water there. Put a DPD-1 tablet in and crush that. Observe the colour of the water with the tablet in, go in a pink colour, and then top that up to the 10 ml mark with the diluted sample. Again, observe the colour. And it's not quite 10 ml. What you can see is that it's a pink colour. Now this, I'll compare it to this one is the undiluted one. This one's the diluted one. It looks like that one's got much more chlorine in, but we know that actually that one has got 10 times more chlorine in than that one. It only looks like there's not very much chlorine in there because of the bleaching effect that's taken place. So let's take a reading with this one and see what we get. So let's get a blank, get it on 0, and then put the sample in and get a reading. And what we've got here is, I hope you can see that, 4.02. Now if I show you just the side of this. Now we had it with 10 ml of the original pool water sample, the chlorinated water sample. We only used 10 ml. The rest of it we used distilled water. Now on the side of the beaker it's got this dilution factor. That's how much you need to multiply that result by to find out how much chlorine is in that water. So because we used 10 ml, we need to multiply it by 10. Obviously if you were diluting up to 20 ml, then you'd be multiplying by 5. If you were diluting up to only 50 ml, then you'd only multiply by 2, but we need to times by 10. So that means there's basically 40 parts per million in that water, which made the DPD tablet go that colour. That's the original sample. You can see it's completely, almost, it's very, very, very faint pink. So that's what 40 parts per million will do to a DPD-1 tablet. It could make you think that you've got a very low level of chlorine, because one other thing I want to point out to you, and you'll have to take my word for this, is that this smells nothing like chlorine. There's no smell coming off it at all, because it's not free chlorine. I know there's not much combined chlorine in this, because it's the combined chlorine that smells of chlorine, not the free chlorine. So 40 parts per million, and there's literally no chlorine smell coming from it. So smell, a chlorine smell, is actually no indicator that you've got an appropriate level of chlorine. In fact, a chlorine smell is a good indicator that you've got high levels of combined chlorine, which is not a good thing. So that's how to perform a bleaching a test when you've got a situation where an excess amount of chlorine in the water is actually bleaching out the colour of the DPD1 tablet. You basically dilute it with one of these beakers and you multiply the result you get with the photometer by the appropriate factor as given on the side of the test beaker.